The Monday after the start of the playoffs, overreaction Monday. But there are some actions that need reaction, just like there's some alleys that demand reality. With Tori Gutierrez Sedano and author of the 2-1-1 method, Dr. Justin B. Tinsley. Also, a quarterback signing a new deal, highest paid player in football. It's Jalen Hurts. News of the day in the NFL. Let's go.
Hurts so good, Tony, if you're a Philly fan. The greatest theory in the world.
We start with the NFL news, and it's huge. The Eagles and quarterback Jalen Hurts reaching agreement on a 5-year extension. $255 million is the top-end number. $179 million is the guaranteed number. So while Patrick Mahomes is bigger on the top end and Deshaun Watson guarantee is more, this is the biggest contract in terms of average annual value in NFL history. Pablo Estori around the horn to you. How significant is this deal for Hurts? And how big is it in the landscape of all things quarterback and pay?
No, we should talk about the landscape first, Tony, because this deal is a weather vane. It points us in the direction of where Justin Herbert and Joe Burrow and, yes, Lamar Jackson are going. And Lamar Jackson saw this news and he had to realize to himself, okay, so Jalen Hurts, not on the whole fully guaranteed Deshaun Watson deal plan that I would want him to be on. So this means that it's going to be a harder ask for Lamar Jackson. But we also know that the Eagles were incentivized to get this done ASAP because they know that Joe Burrow's going to get a bigger deal than this, and Justin Herbert, it seems like, is going to get a bigger deal than whatever they're going to get from Jalen Hurts. So for me, this is about getting in because the most recently signed quarterback is going to be the most highly paid one. And so we're getting the order of operations here. Hurts, Herbert, Burrow. The question is where Jackson slides in because he's calling his own shot in all of this.
But only one of those guys has made a Super Bowl this year, right? Burrow did it last year, but only Hurts has got the hottest hand. Does he deserve the highest paid salary right now in the NFL, Pablo?
He does, because it's going to last for a week maybe, depending on when Justin Herbert signs next.
Justin Tinsley, bring you in here.
Excuse me, Tony. That's me staring at the Baltimore Ravens Lamaringly. Look, man, but no, this contract right here, it was earned. Jalen Hurts was first in the league in TD to INT ratio and completion percentage, first in the league in passing touchdowns and completion percentage of passes over 25 yards. He was second in the league in QBR inside the pocket. Look, what Philly did, they locked their guy down, and they did it before the draft, and that makes charting the course for the future of that franchise that much easier, which is exactly the opposite of what's going on in Baltimore with Lamar Jackson, and that's why.
But to answer the question directly, is Jalen Hurts worth the highest annual salary in the NFL?
Yeah, he's going to be the highest paid man in the NFL, at least until Wednesday.
Okay, so I don't know if a look is a hot take, but I'm giving your look the flames. Israel Gutierrez, to you now.
Yeah, so with Jalen Hurts, first of all, with the smaller picture with Philadelphia, you didn't expect him to be this when you drafted him, and now you're just like, okay, we can absolutely win a Super Bowl with this man, and he can do whatever it takes. Short distance run, long distance run, go find that right wide receivers. Basically, you give him all the tools, you know you can win a championship with him. And so he deserves everything. It's just a sort of carousel. It comes around when it comes around. You are our free agent now. You're going to be the highest paid quarterback. Somebody's going to come and do that right behind you. But when it comes to Lamar Jackson, what I'm telling the Ravens or what I'm showing everybody is, have I had that team around me that Jalen Hurts has around him in Philadelphia? I don't think I have yet. And so if you see that around me, you're going to see a better performance in Jalen Hurts. You're going to see MVP level, not that Jalen Hurts wasn't MVP level, but you're going to see that from Lamar Jackson. And who knows, maybe that completes the deal. Maybe that wins his team a Super Bowl. So I think it's obviously great for Hurts, but I think it does still sort of make Lamar Jackson say, hey, I'm still better than that guy if I had all those pieces around.
George Sedano.
Tony, I know we're supposed to be cloaked in neutrality when we cover athletes and sports, but it's hard not to root for Jalen Hurts. Izzy kind of alluded to it there. When you look at his trajectory, right, benched at Alabama for Tua Tagovailoa, transfers to Oklahoma, has to kind of reinvent himself there.
the connection with Lincoln Riley making him a better quarterback. Then he arrives in the NFL, and Justin mentioned that he had the most touchdown passes of 25 yards or more. Not only that, the previous season, he was arguably one of the worst quarterbacks throwing the ball 25 yards down the field or worse. And he had the second best QBR in that scenario. He had 10 touchdowns, which led the league, and the best completion percentage in that scenario.
Yeah.
So ultimately, yes, he does deserve it. He has made tremendous leaps. He took his team right to the brink of winning the championship. And the next guy will break it, but he's deserving of it right now.
That's where Pablo Torre.
It's also a funny reminder with the draft coming up, Tony. This guy was a second-round pick taken as a luxury backup.
Right.
Nobody knows anything about quarterbacks, but when you see the guy perform like he did in the Super Bowl, you got to get him paid because that's the closest thing we have to a sure thing.
That's Hurts. Now Hurts, which was the headline of the NBA's opening weekend of the postseason. The latest, Tyler Hero, X-rays found a break. He is out. Giannis is back. MRI reportedly clean today. Ja Morant, X-rays negative on his hand and wrist, but he did not sound optimistic. Good news for him, and Memphis is Game 2 is until Wednesday. But Game 1, Lakers closing out the way they did, 128-112. George, what's the bigger concern for Memphis? Morant's injury or how the Lakers looked?
Tony, this is going to sound crazy because Ja Morant is the one player the Lakers didn't have a matchup for, but it is the Lakers. The Lakers beat them in the regular season, and I know that doesn't always translate to postseason success, but the reality is Memphis went into the series, even when Ja Morant was healthy, with issues along their front line. Steven Adams out, Brandon Clark out, and Jaren Jackson Jr., despite being a Defensive Player of the Year candidate, always has a propensity for foul trouble, which didn't look good going into the series, particularly the way Anthony Davis has played the last month or so, where he was the Western Conference Player of the Month. So I didn't like Memphis going into this, and I certainly don't like them if Ja Morant is not available moving forward, because, hey, it's not just AD and LeBron. It's the pieces around them. They're the best team in the West since the trade deadline, and Austin Reeves, he is him. Because when LeBron was out for over a month, he had the 11th best free throw attempts per game in the league, and all the guys ahead of him, Tony, in that stretch were all all-star caliber players. This is a gem and a find by the Lakers. Austin Reeves may not be able to put up this night every night, but he's certainly going to help them every night on the floor.
Are you calling it the Austin Reeves game name?
It's the Austin Rui game. It's a combo game.
Dr. Tinsley, I need to consult with you here. Is that allowed? Can we have combo games in the current 2-1-1 methodology?
I still need to discuss it over with my colleagues.
What is that?
But Desmond Bain, the great people of airport bars across America, walk with me. Listen to Dr. Justin P. Tinsley. Look, Desmond Bain, what you said Rui Hachimura basically got lucky, and he basically needs to do this over 7 games. Here's the spoiler alert. In the 2-1-1 theory, Rui Hachimura doesn't need to do anything. He's got the one. You need 4 wins. 2 of those come from your best player. 1 comes from your second best player, and 1 comes from a role player. Guess what? The Lakers got the role player game out the window. It's done. That's done. You should be able to figure that Anthony Davis and LeBron James can get you 3 wins. And that's what the 2-1-1 theory is. Much like Sex Panther cologne, 60% of the time, it is right every time.
This is an incredible Tinsley turn today. Israel Gutierrez on whether yesterday was more about the Lakers or the Grizz.
Yesterday I thought was more about the Grizzlies, actually, and I think, you listened to Ja Morant after the game, and my concern is that he's just defeated, right? Such a lot going on for him this year. He's got this injury, and he just said, the pain level's at 100. Who knows? It's just that kind of year for me. And so I don't want him talking like that. Obviously, if his hand or wrist is seriously hurt, then the team's chances are lowered significantly. But if it's short term, Tyus Jones, Ja Morant had 6 turnovers yesterday. Tyus Jones is not going to turn the ball over. He's going to be a very, very steady backup point guard and, distribute the ball. And if those guys get hot, they can still beat the Lakers, but they can't really do it for a series if Ja Morant is not himself. And yesterday, if they had him down the stretch, that's a winnable game for them. So I'm absolutely thinking that it's way more of a concern that Ja Morant's not around than anything that,
Pablo shaking his head no. Pablo Torre, join us.
Well, 2 things are true, okay? The Lakers' defense, we're talking about them being the best team since the trade deadline. It's because of their defense, which has been the best in the NBA. They can defend without fouling, and they did that against the Grizzlies. With Ja Morant there, by the way, he played 30 minutes. Of course, when he's not there, when he can't unball the socks, Tony, post-game. As reporters were observing, because he is so banged up in that wrist and hand, hugely worrisome. But the point about the Lakers is the defense. Anthony Davis being a guy who is blocking everything. LeBron James actually being active and there for your defensive needs. The fact that Rui Hachimura is having the game of his life and Austin Reeves, look, I believe he is excellent and a great defender, by the way, but what does it mean to be him? There can only be one him, I feel like. Is that the rule of him? Like it's a Highlander situation? What are we doing here?
Okay, all right. Israel Gutierrez.
If I may check in with the doctor for a second, Ja Morant, being your best player, is he not supposed to be able to overcome great defense for at least a game or two? I believe he is, and I believe he can.
Dr. Tinsley.
Well, he injured his shooting hand. That pretty much takes you out of the series. When your best offensive player can't shoot,
So in one game,
hard to get to.
if we're going to be overreaction Monday, in
According
one
to
game, it's clear to you
actual
now,
factors.
series goes to the Lakers, George Sedano.
Yes.
Gutierrez.
Not clear
Tinsley.
yet.
yes.
Torrey.
Lakers.
Miami 130, Bucks 117. That's the other headline from Sunday. Here's the Giannis injury again. I'm going to ask about taking charges in a second. But first, that Miami was able to score at will when Giannis was out. Miami, we're talking about here. 130 points. And a back injury for your MVP 1 game into what you hope was a 2-month playoff run. Israel, how panicked should Milwaukee be?
Did you see Anthony Davis? I can't feel my arm. That series is not over. Milwaukee should be a little panicked because a lower back injury, it can recur. You know, if he takes another spill, if he takes something really hard where he has to sort of brace himself, it can sort of be a problem throughout the series. However, without Tyler Hero, Miami doesn't have a lot of luxuries. It's got to be Jimmy Butler on his game. It's got to be Bam Adebayo on his game. And it's got to be these shooters absolutely shooting lights out like they did on Sunday. They haven't done that all season, so it's hard to predict that they can
So
replicate.
you think the Hero injury may be bigger than the Antetokounmpo question?
As long as Giannis can play in this series, then yes.
Sedano, how about you?
Tony, I think the Heat have made this a real series because I do think Giannis' situation, while I think he will play in this series, I think to Izzy's point, he's going to be a little tender at times, particularly with a back injury. But Miami went from the best three-point shooting team last year with this same roster to one of the worst, 27th in the league. If they can just be somewhere in the middle, I think they have a decent shot. And we saw Jimmy Butler drag Miami to within 1 shot of winning the East last year with Tyler Hero not in the lineup for most of that series against Boston last year. So I do think the Heat are viable in this game, or in this series.
I also think, Tony, the block charge rule made this a series. The fact that Ja Morant and now Giannis are both out, presumably, because of a rule that is truly Dr. Pimple Popper level horrifying, right? Like, some people are really into this. It's a weird fetish. I respect it, I guess. But get it out of my face, man. Like, I don't want Giannis leaving a series because he tries to do something that is
Well,
beneath
let's talk
his
about
station
both of
as the
those.
world's greatest.
Were the defenders not set? Were Kevin Love and Anthony Davis not set?
They were set.
Pablo?
Yeah, no, they were set, but I just don't like.
Nobody likes
the
the idea that is defense. Let me just think my body right underneath you. But if they're set, they're set. Tinsley, can you weigh in here?
Yeah, I'm a doctor. Trust me on this. You don't lose 20 points per game in a pure score like that and be the same team. I'm concerned for Miami.
Down a last word.
Drew Holiday in the postgame was asked this very question after the Milwaukee Bucks lost to the Heat. He said that's a basketball play. I'm going to side with him in this.
Dano 18, Gutierrez 15, Torrey 24, Dr. Tinsley 36 by yourself.
Why do I trust George so much
A
more?
second opinion on this doctor.
Gotta be.
Your methods may be unconventional, but they're also being tested. Malik Monk game or De'Aaron Fox game? That's a question I have for you.
Fox.
But the way Fox closed it out, all right, we'll allow that. What a thrilling game 1 for Sacramento and the Warriors. And did Curry have a chance to set his feet there? I don't know. I had a panel Friday who didn't even mention the games. So you're getting their mutes. But the beam is lit. Sacramento is lit. George, what you learned from game 1 and what it means for game 2 tonight, 10 p.m. Eastern tip-off.
Oh, come on. Don't cry about that. Just move to the West Coast. Anyway, they are for real. This is going to be a real series. The Warriors clearly on the road continue to struggle defensively. The Sacramento Kings are the new version of the 7 or second less Phoenix Suns. They are a team that wants to shoot. You hear Mike Brown talk about it in their huddles. And ultimately, they're good on misses, Tony. They go into transition 36% of the time off of misses. They want to run. Can they keep that pace up? We'll see. And Andrew Wiggins, a little rusty. If he plays well, the Warriors are plus 22 per 100 possessions.
I don't believe I'm getting an answer here from George. Israel Gutierrez, please.
Sorry, Dr. Tinsley, but this is absolutely a Malik Monk game because De'Aaron Fox is going to give you that every game. Even the way he closed out, he's going to probably win Clutch Player of the Year. So this is absolutely a Malik Monk game. He's not going to give you 30 points again. But look, if I'm the Warriors, I'm feeling pretty good about this because if Andrew Wiggins makes a corner three, I'm good. If Steph Curry makes that one-legged three, we're going to overtime. Who knows how this thing ends? And so, yeah, if the Warriors just get a little bit more rhythm from Andrew Wiggins, who looked a little rusty in the second half, I think they're going to be fine on the road in game.
Dr. Tinsley.
Yeah, look, Golden State's been here, done that, and bought 4 championship T-shirts, so they're not going to panic. Whereas on the other end, Sacramento, I expect Sabonis to play much, much better, and I expect Sacramento to have the urgency as if they're the team that's down 0-1. Because if they go up 2-0, Golden State has to beat them 4 out of the next 5 games, and that's a tough odd for anybody.
So I buy 3 things, Tony. Number 1, my sleeping habits are absolute hell for the next 2 months. The West Coast games are really good. I'm sorry. Like my mornings, sorry to my daughter. I'm not going to be very present in the morning. The second thing I buy is that we have conducted an experiment since the pandemic about the impact of fans, Tony. We lost them, now they're back. Sacramento, man, this is a peak experience in the NBA. It reminds me of Oklahoma City when they got their playoff berth. This is incredible, which accounts, I think, for Steph Curry missing that. And by the way, third thing I buy, this series is about to get a lot harder.
Okay.
It's only getting uphill from here.
Who you got tonight, Pablo Torre?
I have the Warriors tonight.
After everything you just said, Justin Tinsley, how about you?
I got the Kings.
Israel Gutierrez.
E40 and the Dubs.
Tell me when to go, George Sedano.
Warriors.
Clippers, Suns, the block from Westbrook on Booker. But it was the Kawhi game, right, Dr. Tinsley? 38 for Kawhi. It was not the Durant game. Very few touches late. Israel, your takeaway from Clippers 115, Suns 110.
That the Clippers, even without Paul George, have a way to win. If Kawhi Leonard's going to give you that and you just do anything around him, which is the Russell Westbrook kind of formula, do anything and, something's going to help the team, I think they've got a really good shot. If the Suns look disorganized down the stretch of games, it's because they haven't been together as long with Kevin Durant, and it's going to show up in tough matchups like this one.
Tinsley.
I don't need a white coat to give you this diagnosis. If you're Phoenix, get Kevin Durant the ball in clutch time. He had 0 shots during that time. You don't disrespect the basketball guys and expect to win like that.
All right.
My takeaway is that nobody does a better Michael Jordan impression than Kawhi Leonard, and nobody does a better Russell Westbrook impression than Russell Westbrook. 3 for 19, but unbelievable effort. The most effort I've ever seen out of a human being on a basketball court. And he never changed, not for 1 second, which is incredible.
And he brings the effort into the sweet level as well. George Sedano, how about you?
Yes, he does.
Tony, the Suns look disorganized on both ends of the court, offense and defense, early on and late in the game. And Russell Westbrook, Ty Lue deserves a lot of credit for having the patience to stick with Russell Westbrook, and Russell Westbrook to have the stones to pull off what he pulled off despite the 3 for 19 performance. Big defense, big plays down the stretch. Great job.
I don't think Russell Westbrook has stones. I think stones have Russell Westbrook. I mean, that's how that operates.
Yes, he has bricks also.
One game is one game, but did it change the way any of you think that series is going to go? That's the first loss Phoenix has while playing with Durant. But does it make you? No, it doesn't seem like.
Yes,
Oh,
it does.
You're taking the Clippers now,
Not
George?
Paul George.
I still got Phoenix.
I think the Clippers, I think this is going 7. I think this has 7 written all over it.
Thank you for your time. Gutierrez and Sedano, but Tinsley and Torre are going 7. It's showdown next. The one highlight you must see from baseball this weekend, Cody Bellinger's return to Los Angeles, the heartwarming ovation, which earned him a pitch clock violation. Took too much time. Jim Wolf, the umpire, he would go on to ground out the at-bat. Justin, is being shown love good enough for an automatic 0-1 count?
Yeah, hold on. I think the Dodgers may be onto something here. Can you imagine giving the opposing team a standing ovation to screw them up? Can you imagine pulling that out in the playoffs?
I like the way you think, Doctor.
It's also just kind of a fitting tribute to Cody Bellinger's actual tenure in Los Angeles. He kind of always had the vibe of someone who was like half digesting an edible anyway, so felt appropriate. Good for him.
Not wrong there either, but we'll give Tinsley a 2-1 lead. Actually, I lied. One more baseball-related highlight. The tossed the Gator pitcher for his celebration. And then the Gator hitter celebrated his grand slam like a robot because he didn't want to celebrate. So there is the celebration that earned him an ejection, just getting pumped up about a strikeout. And then this is the robot, Pablo Torre. Fair or foul?
It's a fair response, but a foul call. I mean, that was on the scale of 1 to Sam Cassell, Tony, that pitcher. That was like a 7. I mean, what are we really getting triggered by here? The guy barely did anything.
I also have a PhD in pettiness, and anytime Petty can match Petty, hit a home run, and not get thrown out the game, that's incredible. Create a whole new category of the ESPYs for this.
Jack Caglione, love the name, love the game, love the robot. Dr. Tinsley. I don't know if it was a 2 or a 1 or a 1, but it's all yours.
I want to give a shout out to Nicole Lynn of Clutch Sports. She was the first black woman to have a player in the Super Bowl in Jalen Hurts, and now he is the highest paid player in NFL history, at least in terms of average per season. This is par for the course for Jalen Hurts. He has black women all around him. He's on the cover of The Essence, a magazine catered towards black women, written by a black woman and Danielle Smith. So I got to shout out Nicole Lynn. This is an incredible moment, and I hope she's proud of herself because she should be.
Justin Tinsley, wire-to-wire win. Where's that graphic? There's his book. We knew about it. Yes, the self-help book. Making 2-1-1 work for you. What is that? Making your goals goal, your dream. And LeBron knew it. LeBron knew it. How did he know it? He knew it works. 43.5 hour break.